Hello, wonderful human beings. I have good news and bad news for you today and a little bit of a life update. As I'm sure you can tell by the title of the video, I want to let you in on some of the things that have been going on in my life with regard to getting a pretty serious concussion and owning a small business and some of the trials and tribulations and things going on in that world right now. Let's start with the bad news first. Two things. One, I suffered a concussion, which I've kind of shared a little bit here and there about, and two, unfortunately, we are not going to be able to restock Frauth this week as I initially anticipated. Something has come up and that will no longer be possible. The long story short though is that starting a business comes with its fair share of challenges and delays, and more as I progress on this journey, I am learning that is a major theme. Let's get into the matcha first and I'll share more about the concussion later. As I'm sure you guys know, we launched Frauth early this year, and thanks to your incredible support, we actually sold out much earlier than anticipated, which is both a good thing and in some ways a challenging thing because it meant that we were not prepared to sell that much matcha and we're not expecting to have to restock so soon after that. Since then, we've been working on restocking our matcha, but it's something that takes a good amount of time. We also have to work around the matcha harvest season, so it's typically best to be able to kind of forecast how much matcha you're going to need and then replenish that with plenty of lead time ahead, because that process in itself does take a good amount of time. But since it was our first drop, we really had no idea what to expect. And as soon as we could, we let our farmers know, hey, we're gonna need some more matcha. We're gonna need you to start processing the tencha, turn it into matcha powder, package it up, and then have it ready to be shipped from Japan to the US. That process in itself can take a couple of weeks, and then we go into making sure that those matcha bags get put into our nice little tins, into our boxes, getting them all ready to ship for you guys. So it's a pretty lengthy process. We tried to push for it to be done as fast as humanly possible, and then things got held up in customs coming from Japan to the US, which was one roadblock. Then we had a couple of packaging issues, followed by the hurricane, which impacted our warehouse. It just felt like it was roadblock after roadblock. This week we were finally just about ready to relaunch, but unfortunately, and I guess also fortunately, I discovered some issues with quality and consistency in this large batch of our matcha. It's been a goal of mine from the start to provide you guys with high quality matcha, and that is why I wanted to get into starting a matcha business to begin with. Because our matcha was compromised, I knew that this was matcha that I wouldn't be happy with, and I couldn't in good conscience move forward with this. It is a major setback in so many ways because I already felt like we were working on a delay to begin with, and here we are yet again running into another delay. But I felt like it was really important to just let you guys in on what's going on behind the scenes, because I think that running a small business can seem glamorous, but if anyone ever tells you that running a small business is easy or all fun and games, let me tell you, they are lying, okay? It is just challenge after challenge, and I think part of being a small business owner is just being adaptable and trying to work around issues that will inevitably come up. I can't even begin to tell you how many tears have been shed throughout the process of starting this small business. I feel like I've run into so many different roadblocks, it's actually incredible, and now when something comes up, I'm a little less phased, which I think is one of the benefits of having experienced all this, but it doesn't really ever get less frustrating because you really have to put your whole back into starting a small business. To give you even more context, I actually started the process of creating a small business way back when I was living in New York City, so even before 2020, and I kind of thought maybe 2020 would be a good year to launch. Boy, was I wrong. Then I thought December 2023, we are ready to go, we're going to launch. Didn't work out, and nothing came to fruition until 2024. So I have definitely learned a lot of patience throughout this process. I've even struggled with landing on a good brand name, and then as a result struggled because I had to update all the branding and design and everything that had been worked on with a name in mind that we just couldn't legally secure a trademark for. There are just so many things that go into starting up a small business, and to be honest with you guys, I really did want to document the entire process and the journey, but that period of my life got so incredibly busy, not only because I was trying to start a business, but because I was also continuing to do all of my social media business. So the last year or two of my life have probably been the most busy I have ever been in my life. Can't tell you how many times I've fallen asleep with my hands on the keyboard and literally fallen asleep sitting upright like this because I was working late into the night. I feel really grateful though, because I have so many people around me who are also small business owners or people that I look up to, friends of mine who have started businesses, and it's just really nice to have people in your corner who at the very least can understand the frustration and struggle behind all of this. And of course, we're sharing the highlight reel. We want to make it look good. We want to present you with the best possible outcome of all the work that we've put in. But I feel like we don't share enough of the behind the scenes stuff. And I'm okay with pulling back the curtain a little bit, even if it means I don't look as girl boss or badass and successful. I just wanted to be transparent with you guys about what's been going on because you have been so patient with me. It just felt like it was high time for me to sit down and talk to you guys. Now the good news, and there is good news. The good news is that we are aiming to restock around holiday season. So before the end of this year, we'll also be launching a bunch of new SKUs, things that you guys have been asking for, and a couple of surprises that I know you're really, really gonna love, and I cannot wait to launch. We've also had some really incredible collaborations this year with other fellow small business owners like Bonberry Mart, Alfalfa, Phonuts to name a few, and we have still so many more to come. But on that note, I also wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that the matcha that we're using for these collaborations were set aside and allocated in advance because these collaborations have also been in the works for months, and we do often experience delays when we're coordinating those as well. The matcha set aside for these collaborations is not packaged the same way as the matcha that gets sent to you guys, so it's not ready to be sold. And I want to make sure you guys know that we're not sold out because we're funneling all our matcha into these collaborations. Instead, I'm actually really grateful that there's an opportunity for you guys to enjoy Frauth through these collaboration items until we are fully restocked. Now that we've chatted matcha, let's talk about my brain. I shared here and there that I suffered a pretty bad concussion. I didn't know how bad it was until more recently, and this was the first time that I actually lost consciousness and couldn't see after hitting my head. So it was a lot more serious than I realized initially. Initially, my symptoms were really impacting my daily life, and it was very, very hard to function. It was difficult for me to be in a moving vehicle of any kind because even when I was sitting still, I would feel like the room was moving. So imagine having motion sickness, but you have it no matter what you're doing. Just sitting down, laying in bed, and the only thing that would make me feel better usually was laying horizontally. But even then, sometimes I would still feel the kind of moving walls, moving floors feeling. And it made me feel extremely nauseous and was really difficult for me to deal with physically because it made it almost impossible for me to travel somewhere by plane, let alone by car within LA. I canceled more than 3 different trips that I had coming up because originally I thought that I would be okay to fly after about a month, but I soon realized that the healing journey was going to take a lot longer than I realized. And I think around that time, you may have seen that I was wearing sunglasses 24/7, sitting even in this area of my home. I'm in the shadows right now, but I'm kind of by a window. That was difficult for me in the early stages of it because I was so sensitive to light. I still feel like I'm a little sensitive to light, especially when I'm in the dark and a light shows up. So if I'm on the road at night, mostly dark, and there's like a headlight here and there, things like that are still pretty difficult for me to this day, but it's nowhere near like what it was in that first month of healing. Obviously, my job revolves around screens, being on my phone, editing videos, shooting on a camera, and it was really, really hard for me to do any of that. I had to take a huge break from screens and really focus on the most important things. So I would try to kind of conserve my energy to edit one video where possible, but I definitely fell off of social media a lot more. And even on YouTube, I hadn't posted a video in almost 3 weeks that was long form because it was just so difficult for me to not only film, but also edit and get that posted. And I really apologize for being absent. You know, I feel really badly when I take breaks or there are lapses. It is my job, and I always want it to be clear that I take it seriously because it is serious to me. And I actually really love what I do, but I think that's how I realized that it was so bad because I have never really taken a break like that. And if I have, it's been with intention, and this was just came out of left field for me. Another one of my big symptoms was feeling like my brain was just not functioning properly. I shared a video on TikTok that kind of made light of the situation, but really captured what it was like for me to try to film or do anything in the first few weeks especially. I still have some remnant issues with like mixing up my words. For example, in this video alone, I've repeated certain sentences like 4 to 5 times to try to get it right. And it's just this weird feeling where you feel like you're saying something, but what's coming out of your mouth is not matching what your brain is saying. It's like there's this weird disconnect, and it happens a lot in conversation with friends too. It's honestly pretty embarrassing because it makes me feel really stupid, and it also makes it hard because you just don't feel like yourself. Seeing people too and being able to keep up conversations coherently has been pretty difficult. I have really cut down on a lot of social interactions just because it's actually tiring to try to be so alert in a conversation. It sounds so silly, but I almost feel like I ran a marathon and my brain is like tired after going to like a work event or having a meeting with someone and just trying to make sure I don't like mess up my words. That was definitely very, very new for me. And like I mentioned earlier, it contributed a lot to the delays that were going on with the Frauth restock as well, because I just wasn't functioning at 100%. And even still to this day, I can say I'm probably at 75, 80%. I'm definitely not at 100%, but we are getting there and I'm working really, really hard to make that happen. I started working with brain specialists and that has been really helpful because I've done a ton of brain imaging scans, just be able to visually see what's going on with my brain. And I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of shocking and really scary to see what my brain looked like because, oh my God, because I'm basically dealing with brain injury. I think when you can physically see a dent in your brain, it becomes more clear how serious the injury is, and it made it a lot more real for me. You're also at risk for dementia and just a lot of cognitive function loss. It's scary to me because I kind of thought it was something that would last like 1 or 2 weeks and then I'd feel 100% again, but obviously that's not the reality. I feel really, really grateful because I know that most of you have been really patient with me and understand that I have a concussion. I was actually surprised by how many people have gone through something similar and understand what it feels like. I really don't think I could understand or relate to someone going through this had I not gone through it myself. It's so scary to feel like you're not in control of your brain and you're losing function. Let us focus on the positives again. I have been working with a neurologist. I have a treatment plan in place. I'm taking so many supplements. But all for a very good reason. And that has been a huge adjustment for me too, because I've never taken this many supplements before in my life. Like, this is literally my supplement basket. So I make sure that I take everything on time and every single day. I've also literally been prescribed things like puzzles and activities that will stimulate my cerebellum to kind of encourage it to function a little bit more. Hand-eye coordination activities like tennis. I've been doing Wordle and things like that. And that part has been really fun because I do enjoy those things. That is a pretty good summary of what's been going on in my life recently. Life has been a lot slower. I've been terrible at getting back to people, even friends. I just can't do as much as I was doing before because I'm injured. And it's kind of tough because you can't really see it and sometimes it's not obvious, but I just try to remind myself to be gentle with myself and also be patient with myself. I'm hoping this video isn't too terribly long, but if you made it to the end, thank you guys so much for watching. I will keep you updated on Frauth. And I feel like now that we've kind of broken the fourth wall, I can share things as updates come. Trust that I'm doing everything in my power to get this matcha restocked as quickly as possible while also making sure the quality is top tier. Until then, like this video, don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments below. I know this isn't my usual style of video, but I have been able to film some long form videos soon. So I promise we'll be getting back on track with content schedule as well. And until then, I'll see you in another video soon. Oh, the lighting's getting dark.